Hello, Internet. Welcome you to the inaugural shooting of NDN Sports Chat, Sports Talk.
Yep.
Title pending.
Still working it out.
Alongside Mike Hockett, I'm Shane Lucas. We are your Newton Daily News sports writers. Each week, we're hoping to just bring you some sports talk, Newton sports, area sports, whatever else may come about. So let's start things off. First segment ever. Mike, if you want to talk a little bit about Newton football, last week got underway.
Sure, and it was definitely a rough awakening for the Cardinals. They lost 42-12 to a really good Norwalk team. I mean, you really can't understate how good Norwalk is. Some people think they're the best in the state, but still, it was definitely not the game that Newton fans were expecting. Yeah, it was just a tough one to watch for a lot of them. Newton gave up almost 500 yards of offense. But they did do a couple good things. The sophomore quarterback Tyler Wood, they had a couple long touchdown passes in his first start ever, so they're hoping he can just build on that. They're going to have another tough game this Friday against Knoxville, a team that you saw beat PCM by 42-28. It kind of ended up being a pass fest, it seemed like, down the stretch, but Newton's going to looks like they're going to see if they can kind of exploit some of Knoxville's pass defense like PCM did. Knoxville gave up, I think it was over 400 yards of passing, so they're going to see if they can do maybe not the same, but have similar success. Other than that, Newton, they did beat Knoxville last year. It was a 31-23. It was a game, Newton, where they jumped out 28-3 right away, but then they just couldn't put Knoxville away. They kind of let them hang around, and it was another game Newton's defense gave up exactly 500 yards of offense, so they definitely need to be better than that. And yeah, that's about all I got for Newton. It'll be their first road game, so we'll see how they can bounce back from a real tough loss on Friday. And you're going to be at Roland Story, I believe, right?
Maxwell.
CMB hosts the Roland Story.
CMB versus Roland Story.
Yeah, CMB, they've had two shootouts. Just kind of what are your thoughts with them?
It's hard to kind of tell. Roland Story, they're always tough in almost any sport, but they're often 0-2 start, so might be interesting there. But the thing I'm mainly looking for out of CMB is junior quarterback Zach Sampson. He's off to just an enormous start. He's ran for over 100 yards of bulking, I think over 200 yards last week, thrown for at least 100 with a couple touchdowns. So I think he's going to be a lot of fun to watch all year. He's a big guy. Going into the season, I didn't expect he'd be the quarterback. He's a state shot putter. He's the he was the center power forward on their football team. Played a little bit of receiver last year, so I didn't quite expect him to be a quarterback, but he's getting it done this year so far, so he should be fun to watch. Defensively, I think they're kind of young. They're kind of scattered all over the place. I know the defensive line gets a lot of the tackles. That might come from some of the teams they played, just being more run-focused teams. Roland Story, I don't know too much about. Like I said, they lost, I believe, 6-3 last week to South Hamilton. PCM beat them 27-26 in week 1.
So two really different games. Yeah.
Exactly, so it's tough to kind of tell. But CMB 1-1 on the year. If the records hold up, I think CMB could be walking out with a win. If anything, just a big game from Zach Sampson again. Just going forward, do you want to talk a little about today's paper?
Sure. Kind of big stories in today's paper. One of them, Newton Cross Country, they had their second meet of the season at Southeast Polk on Tuesday. And they kind of really continued the great start that they've had last week. They started at Iowa State, where they ran, and both the Newton boys and girls each took 4th place. Grace Cohen, the freshman for the Newton girls, won the whole thing at ISU, kind of made a big debut. And then she follows that up with winning the Southeast Polk meet. It was kind of a weird format where it was kind of like 4 meets in one, where there was an underclassmen meet for boys and girls and an upperclassmen meet. So she won the underclassmen meet, but her time would have also won the upperclassmen one. And for the boys, Christian Laub, sophomore, he took 2nd. It looks like he's going to have a big season for the Cardinals. Cooper McDermott, he took 6th. And then for the girls, obviously Cohen, she won it, and senior Alexis Desplank, she took 3rd for the upperclassmen meet. So, yeah, just another big meet for Newton Cross Country, and it looks like they're going to have a real solid year this year.
You talked a little bit more about Grace Cohen. I know you were even telling me about her last year. You know, her as an 8th grader made a lot of buzz.
Yeah.
All the coaches were excited about her. Just kind of casual running fans were excited about her. So
yeah, there's been a lot of discussion about her just through kind of Newton Sports, just people throughout the past couple of years, because they've really been anticipating her just getting to high school, because she's been not only in the state, but one of the best middle school runners in the country the past couple of years. And she took second at the state middle school meet last year, and I just think everyone kind of knew she was going to be one of the best in the state right away, and she's obviously proven that so far. She's obviously leading the team. She's actually been practicing with the high school team since she was in 5th or 6th grade, so even though she's a freshman, she has as much experience as a lot of the upperclassmen around. I guess after that, Newton Volleyball, they picked up a huge win last night with a long road trip. Just how was that?
That was definitely one of the longest volleyball matches I've ever seen in my long, illustrious sports writing career. But big win over DCG. They were, had 4 wins and 5 or so matches this season. The one thing Coach Forkey said to me last night that kind of rang a bell was some of her teams in the past may have let that match go after they gave up a 2-0 lead. DCG came back, tied it up. But they didn't. They stuck it out. Every set was separated by 2 points, which was pretty, about as tight as it gets, or tight as it has to get for volleyball. But Michaela Bleeker looked really good, 21 kills. I think she's definitely going to be the leader of the team this year. Senior Caitlin Camp at the setter position, kind of running things. And kind of a who's who behind them. A lot of in and outs. Holly Vanderpool's put in her time there. She's getting a lot of time outside. Casey Cassette, a junior libero, she's holding her own so far from what I've seen this year. I think they should be pretty solid. They had a few hiccups in their first tournament they held at home, but once they really get into it, Bleeker played the national championship team over the summer. Got a lot of experience, a lot of kind of up and comers there, so it should be exciting to watch them as well.
Then the other Newton team that was in action yesterday, Newton Boys Golf. It looked like they finished, kind of in the middle of the pack there?
7th out of 14, right in the middle there. It was at Fort Dodge. Every meet they play is going to have the top teams in the state. They're playing in 4A, Ames, Waukee, Ankeny. I know Southeast Polk's usually up there as well. The Shores brothers, Austin and Devin, been leading the team all year, kind of like they were last year. Austin, the senior, is kind of taking the team lead so far this year. He's led the team in every one of the meets. Devin's usually right behind him. Also, senior James Leonard's in there, senior Tyler McAnally. They're kind of, Coach Riley was saying, they're still kind of finding their place. They got a couple of young guys that they're still working in there that, they're just kind of looking for improvement for each meet, which is kind of what they did last year. They kind of started off slow, kind of picked up pace. Devin Shores finished, I think, just 1 stroke shy of making it to state last year. So I know they have some high goals. They're coming up on Thursday, going to be playing at Ankeny, Otter Creek Golf Course, which I know they have some familiarity with. They did fairly well there last year. So just going to kind of watch them week to week. I think they can definitely make a little more noise than they did last year. They're a little bit more experienced.
They brought back, it was pretty much most of varsity, or almost the whole thing. So, and they, like you said, they finished great last year. So it looks like they're going to keep doing that this year.
Yep. That's right.
So that's pretty much a rundown of Newton Sports. And then as far as coming up on the schedule, I think our big event on Thursday is going to be the Newton Colfax Mingo Pella, the Aqua Girls swim team. They have their first home meet here at the Newton Y. They're going to be hosting Grinnell and Indianola in a triangular, and they're another Newton team that's been off to a great start. They started with a dual meet at Linn-Mar, a long road trip last week that they kind of pulled out right at the end. It was a real exciting meet. And then they followed that up with a meet at Charles City this past Saturday, and that was a triangular, another long road trip, and they won that one. So it really couldn't have started better for the Aqua Girls so far, and I know they've been excited about this first home meet. I think something that swim fans will see a little bit different is they don't have diving this year because the diving board at the Y has been deemed, I guess, just unusable, or it's kind of draw past that line of being unsafe, I guess, for high school competition. So that means that in the big meets, Newton is going to have to start out they're not going to get those diving points that they normally do. They're going to have to start about 12 points down, which is kind of a downer. But as far as these home meets, since the other team won't be able to dive, it won't really make a difference there.
Right.
But it's still something that they wish they could be diving, because they have some girls that last year that did really well for them.
I seem to remember that, yeah.
Other than that, coming up on the schedule, as far as obviously nothing going on tonight, but as far as Thursday, like you said, Newton Golf is at Ankeny. We have girls swimming here. Newton Volleyball, they have another long road trip. They're out at ADM. Then there's some of that area stuff. PCM Volleyball, they host Greene County. CMB hosts Rolling Story. Wenville Sully hosts Iowa Valley. They picked up a win over CMB last night, which was that was their first match of the season. Then moving on to Friday, obviously another football night. Like we talked about, we got Newton at Knoxville, and then Hilby at CMB is hosting Rolling Story. And then the other area games, PCM is at Pella Christian, and then Colfax Mingo is at Southeast Warren, and Winville Sully, they're at Eddyville Blakesburg, and that game will be interesting to see because Winville Sully, they're arguably one of the top teams in Class A, but they had a real tough game against Pella Christian, a 2A school, in week 1, and they got kind of dominated in that game, so we'll see how they bounce back from that.
I think Pella Christian and PCM also will be an interesting one, just as they have their kind of natural rivalry as it is, but Pella Christian coming off that big win, PCM coming off kind of the big loss to Knoxville, they're going to have something to prove, or want to prove something, so that game should be interesting as well out there in Pella.
Then looking at the weekend, we got on Saturday a few cross-country meets. PCM is at Pella. Linville Sully, or PCM and Linville Sully are both at Pella. That meet's held at Central College. And then obviously we got college football. Iowa State and Iowa are both in action for the first time.
Finally.
I think I'm actually going to be at that Iowa State game, obviously playing Tulsa, where I think they're a 1-point underdog for being the start of the season, but it seems like they're an underdog for every game, so we'll see how that goes. And then
Coach Rhodes likes it that way.
And then Iowa is at Northern Illinois. I don't think they're a big favorite, but they're still, I think, a 6 or 7 point spread in that game. So that game will be at Soldier Field, so that'll be pretty interesting.
A little bigger spread than I thought, especially kind of in the Huskies territory. I mean, obviously they don't dominate that state, but that's kind of their region. But they're a bowl team kind of year after year. I think that'll be a good test for the Hawkeyes early on.
And then obviously nothing Sunday, and then Monday being Labor Day, nothing going on then. That brings us to Tuesday, where Newton and Winville Sully cross country are both at Grinnell. That'll be a big invitational. And then PCM is also at that meet. And then all that's left is CMB is at East Green Volleyball, and then also in volleyball, Winville Sully hosts North Mahaska. And that pretty much takes us through Tuesday of next week. So obviously fall sports are back in full swing, and pretty much almost every night of the week we got something going on.
Yeah. Well, I think unless any other closing thoughts, I'll probably wrap it up for us.
No, just looking forward to another football Friday, and good to have fall sports back.
Yeah, definitely. Well, that will wrap up our first edition of NDN Sports Chat Talk, title pending, whatever we decide on. Check back every week. We'll be here behind the blank wall, in front of the blank wall. Any feedback, any questions, comments from our viewers, we gladly accept. So in the meantime, we'll see you out there.